This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
Hey, Top Shop Podcast listeners. Got a great guest this morning on the podcast, Russell McCloud. He is owner of, with his sister Michelle, of Accurate Automotive Attention in Yuma, Arizona. It was started by Dennis. Is that your dad? Was that your dad?
Correct.
It was started by Dennis McCloud in 1969 in a small metal building. Now get this. They occupy over 33,000 square feet in two facilities. So the family's grown the business just a tad. So,
yes. Actually, we have three locations.
Three locations now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Missed that. Three locations.
The third has a different name.
Oh, the third one has a different lane. Okay.
Yeah, it's within 1 mile of our other location. So to avoid consumer confusion, we named it a different name.
That was smart. Yeah, that was very, very good thing. So you've been owner for 20 plus years, but you've been there since, what did you say?
1970 I started, yeah.
1970.
Yeah, at 12 years old. I was pushing a broom, mopping floors.
Okay.
Running parts on my bicycle.
Running parts on your bicycle? Seriously?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's a unique story to get started with. So, so no use to me. Usually the first question I ask is, how did you get in the business? Well, so we know that now. That's for sure. So, Dad opened the shop, and you were there to help at 12 years old from the very beginning. So, it
was great. Dad paid me 40 cents an hour, and my paychecks, he paid twice a month, and they ranged anywhere from 28 to the biggest one I ever got was $44. So, but 13, 14 years old, and that was a lot of money.
$44 in your pocket back in then. Yeah, that 1970. Yeah, I remember that. Hershey bars were, because I remember 1970s, Hershey bars were a dime.
Sure. Yep. And I burned most of it at the bowling alley, learning how to bowl and playing pinball.
Oh, there you go. Oh, pinball. Yeah. I remember the pinball days. Quarters. Yep. We would, So anyway, you've seen a few changes in the industry.
Oh my, yes. Have I ever?
So tell me about it. When you took over the shop, was there any challenges that you had, taking over from Dad, moving over into you that you can think about? Or
no, it was pretty seamless because I'd been, basically running the show for, years.
Right. So
I ran operations, and my sister did all of the accounting and payroll, and so she handled the money, and I handled the people.
Right. Okay.
So it worked well for us. We got along very well, agreed on, just about everything. I hired her husband. It's really the first time I defied my father.
Oh.
We lost a real good diagnostic, what back in the day called the tune-up tech, right? The guy who ran the scope. And so I wanted to put an ad in the newspaper, and Dad said, no, it's too expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to need a tech. I was running the shop, and so I put one in anyway. And in walked this guy, Gene Payne, and he worked at Tune Up Master at the time. And he'd gotten sideways with the owner and was looking for something else. I hired him on the spot, and he eventually became my brother-in-law. So he was a key part of the business. I mean, he's sharp. He basically ended up, being a great diagnostic tech, and I could rely on him for shop operations and advice, and he could fix just about anything. I don't know that we ever had a thing that he couldn't figure out eventually.
Right. Russell, how many employees do you have altogether? You and Michelle, how many altogether?
About 43, 44.
Okay.
It varies a little bit. Right now, we're probably at 43.
Okay. So if I would have I say this a lot in podcasts, and I always get a little chuckle, but if I'd have come back to your dad in 1970s and said, hey, I wanted to ask you about your culture, he probably would have said, I don't eat yogurt. But
Probably.
probably. But today, or geez, what you just said. Oh, I placed an ad in the paper and a text showed up. Yeah, those were the days.
Right?
Yeah, okay. So we'll get to that question here in just a few minutes. But let's start with culture because today it's an important part of any business, let alone an auto repair shop. It doesn't matter what kind of business it is. Culture is very important. People want to feel valued, and people only stay at jobs that usually they enjoy or they just could become ensconced in. They're so
Sure.
some people just stick around just to stick around. But I mean, a lot of people, they could easily go anywhere else. I'm sure that you've got shops trying to poach your techs from time to time because that's happening a lot in the industry now. So, what have you guys done that has was it purposeful or was it just built in from your father's values? But what are the things that you feel that contribute to your current company's shops culture?
Well, I think treating people well, expressing gratitude for their work, and they know that the company's run ethically. And so, I've had techs come in and say, I worked for so and so guy, and man, it was just awful. Shady and this and that, and they didn't like working there.
Right.
And so, and I take the crew out, to lunch every month, and we just go out and get away from the shop and have a
Okay.
good time. Just, it's the little things I think that add up.
Sure.
And the other thing too, I practiced was try to pay the guys what I'd be willing to pay them if they told me that they were leaving. Just
Oh,
pay them that today instead of
I haven't
waiting.
heard that one. Yeah.
That's my philosophy. It's like, what would I be willing to offer them if they said I got to go?
Right.
And that's what I pay them. That way they don't look. And we,
That's a
we
good one. Haven't heard that one yet, Russell. That's a good one.
it works.
Yeah.
Our guys have just been with us for years and years and years.
Sure.
I don't know what the actual average is. I haven't figured it out in a long time, but I would say the average of our techs at two of our locations. The third one is a small shop and it experiences turnover, but
Okay.
they're probably an average of at least 12, 13, 14 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we've
Yeah.
got several people that are 30 plus.
Yeah, let me. I belong to a mastermind group of agency owners in the United States. In order to belong, you got to be at the top of Google for your search terms. So if you search auto repair SEO, we're number one in the nation. So one of the things that they advocate, because they got over a decade and a half of experience, 250 of the top agencies in the United States. Um, so they say, because we hire all over the world. We have a Filipino corporation. I have people in South Africa. I have people all over. They say find out what the average salary is for someone in that position in that area, and when you find someone good, just pay them 20% more. And that formula has worked really well. So your formula, hey, what would I pay them if they would have come to, hey, uh, you know, I got to leave. I got a better offer elsewhere. And what's your offer? That's what you pay them. That's a really good one.
It's worked. I am working hard to instill that in my son. My sons are taking over the business. I semi-retired last year, and
Oh, awesome.
so I don't go into the office anymore, and letting them run the operations. And he's a little more tight, but
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
working on him. Oh yeah, I'm working on it. But I've had that conversation, and he in which he took my advice. He was telling me how good young tech was doing at a small location that I mentioned. And I said, well, have you given him a raise yet? Well, no. It's like, yeah, you need to go to him and tell him what you told me about how well he's doing and give him a nice raise. And so he did.
Okay. Awesome.
So I don't think
Yeah.
he would have if I didn't push him. So
Right.
we'll work on that. And, sometimes it's like I told my sister, she's, just a little hesitant, wondering how well they'll do. And I'm like, we made mistakes. They're going to have to as well. So you have to let them make mistakes. So if he loses a tech and he's suffering because of it, he'll learn.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So, and I've heard that a lot. Hey, I take the team out for a lunch, once a week. Some of them set up uh, events on the weekends, but then like at the racetracks and stuff, those little mini go-karts. But some owners are like, yeah, my techs after being in a shop all week, last thing they want to do is get together on the weekends. Some of them do shop picnics. That's where the families of all the employees get together. I think those are a great idea.
We're doing one a week from this Saturday,
Oh,
actually.
no kidding. Yeah. My
Yeah.
father worked in a factory in Mentor, Ohio, and they had a company picnic every single year. So all of the employees with all of their families came to this picnic. I still remember those as a kid, going to those as a kid. So, so really, really great tips. Um, let's talk about techs. I don't think you can get two auto repair shop owners in the same room without the tech shortage coming up.
Probably
So,
not. Yes. It's a
so
real challenge.
yeah, so I'm full force behind Amazing Women in Automotive. It's a great organization to belong to, and I'll mention that to you later. It's a great logo to have on your website because it'll help you get more book jobs from women. But uh, what is your advice on how to find, hire, and retain good techs? Now, you already told me about retention. You treat them good, and then you pay them what you would pay them if they came to you and said, I want to leave, and you say, well, okay, what would I need to pay you to stay? You just pay them that. Pretty smart. So, but as far as finding them or creating interest in the industry, how's that working out for you? With 40 some employees, you probably got sons or daughters of people that are working with you coming to you. Um,
Part of the employee number includes a car wash, RV wash, detailing, and
okay.
a quick lube. That's all in the other location that I mentioned. It's called Express Auto and RV Care Center,
Okay.
and so they do quick lube operations, and so that pumps up my employee number. It's not all techs.
Okay. And that's RV wash or
There's an RV wash. Yeah, it's a large tunnel that basically I think it was designed probably for washing semis.
okay.
We don't do that, but it'll wash RVs. And then there's a regular car wash. And so what we do is there's no spinning brushes. We hand scrub and hand dry. So it's labor intensive,
Okay.
but they do a great job. It's got a great reputation. And it drives people to that location where they can see the other operations. So it's
Right.
almost like a marketing arm. But as far as obtaining techs, pretty much still the old-fashioned way. We don't use the newspaper anymore, but things like Indeed has worked for us. And
Okay.
we constantly keep that out there, so we get resumes every once in a while. And if it looks promising, then now my son Jeff, he will interview them and see what he thinks about them, and then ask them, hey, look, we don't have an opening. We don't. And one of the things we tell them is openings are rare in our company. But if you'll keep me advised of any change in your contact information, we'll contact you if we have an opening coming up and see what you're doing and see if maybe you'd be interested in coming to work for us. So we kind of try to keep a couple of resumes on hand
Hmm.
so that when the need arises. Yeah, we're just extremely fortunate. We just don't have a lot of openings.
That's okay. That's because you have excellent retention. Yeah. Now, I'm going to guess that you've had more than one tech just walk in your door and ask if you're hiring, right?
It, Not anymore.
Not anymore. Used to.
No, it
Yeah.
just, yeah, you used to, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
hiring was easy, 15,
Sure.
20 years ago. But
Yeah. Yeah.
in the last, 10, 15 years, that's why you can't get two owners in a room and
Without talking about the
finding
tech stuff.
techs
Yeah.
comes up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a large problem, and society's partially responsible for
Oh,
that.
hugely responsible.
What's nice is you see the pendulum swinging back the other way now.
Yes. Finally.
In fact, our Rotary Club this year, we have a specific category for technical schools and not just college.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that hasn't happened before. And so you see people talking about the need for hands-on learning and people in the technical fields.
Right. Yeah.
We need plumbers and air conditioning. That air conditioning companies will tell you the same thing. It's hard to find somebody who wants to do that job.
Yeah.
And you can make a decent living. I mean, always am encouraged when one of our employees, buys a home for the first time, and
Yeah.
that's something to celebrate.
Sure.
And so that's always the goal. And you can work in the trades and have a very good living and have a good life.
Yeah, I'm behind you on that. So, I didn't know Mike Rowe, the guy that did that TV show. He's really strongly behind it. I remember President Trump mentioning something about it. Um, he's got a few other things on his mind right now, but I do I do remember him, being very aware of it, that, we the upper 1% or like a half of 1% of income earners, the ones who give the money to all the colleges and the other side of the government
Right. Yeah.
to,
Well,
to push their agenda,
and what's so,
said,
oh, I'm
hey,
sorry, go ahead.
they said, let's take these the counselors, I guess the high school counselors or whatever, and tell them to tell all the kids, hey, you need to get a college education and get a degree because why did they do that? Because they need employees to
Right.
increase their stock. So what happened? I grew up in Ohio. Every high school in Ohio when I grew up had an auto mechanics shop in it. It was a very normal part of,
Right.
so, and now the trades, AC repair, you mentioned some of them, plumbing, electrical, all
Right.
these journeyman jobs. They're paying six figures now for people that are, what's an ASE certified master tech making nowadays,
Right.
so
Depending on the area, anywhere, I mean,
yeah,
they're making over 100K in a lot
yeah,
of the metropolitan areas.
yeah. And so, I think it is coming back full circle where, people are starting to, and there's a whole massive amount of kids that don't want to sit in front of a computer. That's not how they learn, sitting in the classroom and memorizing stuff. They like working with their hands. They like fixing something, and that gives them a feeling of accomplishment. Look, I just got this job done. I fixed this. So it's a totally different thing out there. But you are right, Russell, and I am glad there is a turnaround. There's also a turnaround in auto repair shops because remember back in the 90s and the huge and even the 80s, the huge distrust with the independent car shop.
Right.
That's changing. Now it's going to the dealer,
Right.
the stealership.
I remember when auto repair was the number one complaint, Better Business Bureau
Yep.
got,
Yep.
and it's way down the list now. And
We have,
I some of the stories, I feel terrible for these kids. They go to college. They've been told, since they were young, you can't get ahead if you don't get a college education and get a degree. And they
right.
come out with this massive debt,
Yeah.
have trouble finding a job in the field that they studied, and they end up working maybe in the trades or just other things. They're not real happy, and they've got a massive debt load. They could buy a home with that debt load.
Yeah.
And I think those stories are getting out there. It's like what I tell young people: if you're interested, come to work for us. Right now, I think the most important thing that shop owners can do is grow their own. Take a young kid that has an interest, and some of the trades are coming back, so some of the schools are bringing that back, or there's technical schools that focus on various trades. One is here in Yuma now. It's got a few years under its belt, but bring them in and explain to them. It's like, hey, you don't need to pay someone to train you. I'll train you and I'll pay you, and then that way you can train them the way you want them trained,
Right.
in the way that you do things. So I think there's a huge advantage to growing your own.
Yeah. And there's a caveat to this. Hey, get a college degree so you can get a good job thing. AI is taking over the white collar jobs, like massively.
I feel so bad for those kids that were told learn to code,
Yeah,
and it's going to vanish. You
yeah.
know, I
They
mean, I'm sure there'll be some other areas for them to work in, but
right.
yeah, you got these machines that are coding now. So,
Yeah.
but
So yeah.
no AI is going to fix your car. I can promise you that.
Well, it was one of the reasons my wife and I got into this industry. Auto repair is a recession resistant industry. So
True.
I researched it. Liquor stores, barber shops, grocery stores, doctors, and auto repair shops. So all recession resistant. So and I already knew I just wrote my third book on the age of AI, auto repair shop marketing, the age of AI, how to future-proof your shop. So the book's at the editor right now in Atlanta. So I already knew where AI and the large language models and everything was going. So I knew that they're not going to build a robot anytime soon that can do an oil change or do an alignment on an ADAS.
Right.
So
That's a fact.
they can build a robot to stand at the movie theater and do popcorn and Coke and stuff like that. No problem. We've already got robots that can do that. You just haven't seen them yet. We got them.
Sure.
So, and that's going to be coming like in rapidity in over the next 10 years. So anyway, so yeah.
Well, I also see it as helping shop owners, though,
Yeah. Oh,
or
yes.
technicians. I mean, you'll
Big
have
time.
AI helping them figure out tricky problems,
Yeah.
and find better ways of doing their job. I think that, we've always been concerned about the advances in technology. This new stuff comes out. It's hard to find training. Dealers don't want to share the information. But now, I think they'll probably be able to put on a VR headset and walk right through a process of diagnosing a difficult problem.
Oh, wow. VR headset. Wow. Really? Yeah. That's VR headset. Yep. Didn't think about that. Yeah, that's coming like real soon. So the big data, that's why there's the big fight for the big data. They're building these massive centers that suck up massive amounts of power and stuff like that. But imagine all of the auto repair jobs throughout the history of recorded in computer stuff into one computer model. So you just type in what the issue is with this car, and it brings you up every possible scenario in order of how they normally find them, you know? So, and that'll be a subscription that the auto repair shop owners pay for, but it'll cut their diagnostic times down. I don't know. I see all this stuff coming.
That's how I see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they'll put on a headset and it'll walk them right through a procedure. Test this pin, or go here, go there, and so those really, really difficult ones that suck up your top tech's time.
Right. Yeah.
They and the techs, what makes them such a good tech is also can be a negative because they're stubborn and they are by gum going to figure this thing out. So
Yeah.
next thing you know, they've spent 2.5, 3 hours on this issue, and you
Uh-huh.
sold the customer one, maybe two, and they're back there 3, 4 hours. They're like, what are you doing? But they're going to by
Figure this
gum
out.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you got an ADHD one, because they'll be good focused on that one thing and that's it. They'll put the blinders on.
Right. It's like,
So,
hey, how come Mrs. Jones' car isn't ready? Well, I'm trying to get Bob's fixed.
right. So anyway, hey, what role do you believe that training and ongoing education are going to play or are playing in a s- the successful repair shop today?
Well, I can tell you unequivocally that the Automotive Service Association is absolutely responsible for us still being in business.
Okay.
And I say that because many years ago, the local chapter was very active, and the same guys, for years were the president of the local club. And finally, the state director asked me if I'd take my turn at it. The other guys retired, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then he springs on me. He goes, oh, by the way, um, the president of the local chapter sits on the state board. And next year is Yuma's turn for the chairmanship of that. It sure would be a shame because they skipped it the last two times. Nobody wanted to do it. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, fine. I'll check it out. And I'd never been to training. I just was running my dad's shop the way we always did.
Sure.
And so I went to the state board meetings, and they put on an annual training event. And so my thought was, well, I'm on the board and I'm going to be president next year. I'd better, I'd better go and show my leadership by attending. So I went, and holy cow, I found out what I did not know. And I didn't know a lot. And so I just started attending every training event that came up, and taking, management training, and got my brother-in-law, he loved training too. So he did the technical courses. I did the management courses.
Okay.
And I learned how to actually run a repair shop. Because I just, when I graduated high school, I stayed in the company, and that's all I knew.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about profit margins or anything. In fact, it used to drive my dad crazy. He's like, well, we can't charge that much for that. It's like, gee, what do you mean you've doubled the price? No, you can't do that, Dad. And back then, if you were in the industry then, remember you had blue sheet, green sheet, yellow sheet, and if you bought a lot of parts, I think it was blue sheet got the best price. But the invoice told you what to charge the customer, what the list price was.
Right.
So that's what we charged. That wasn't what we needed to be profitable, but that we didn't know any different. That was what we charged.
Right.
And we set our labor rate by calling, 3 or 4 other shops down the street. It's like, okay, well, that's where our labor rate's going to be. It had nothing to do with what our actual costs were, labor costs. Right. It was just flying by the seat of your pants. So over time, we got educated. So training, if it hadn't been for, his name was Bill Mason. He's passed now, but hadn't been for him, I told him he was a snake, for tricking me like that. But I owe that guy everything. If it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't have gotten involved. If I hadn't gotten involved, I wouldn't have started going to training. If I hadn't got that training, I don't think our company would have survived. We didn't know enough about how to run a business. We just knew how to take care of people and fix cars.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, back to your question, that was a long-winded answer, but training is absolutely invaluable.
Okay, awesome. Do you go to Vision or any of those other shows, trade shows?
Used to. We're going, actually, I think it's June, here in June, the state one is coming up again. So we always attended that. So
yeah.
we'll do that.
There's a small one. It's really growing. It's a part of the ACA. It's MAACA, the Mid-Atlantic Auto Care Association. It's in Hershey, Pennsylvania this year. So if you haven't heard of that one, Russell, you ought to look it up because it's real close to you. It's just in PA. It's a really short flight.
That's clear across the country.
What's that?
That's clear across the country.
Oh, Arizona. I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Wrong one. Yeah. No. Oh, that one's close for you.
But nevertheless, yes. No, I understand. My son is very much into training as well. So.
Is he? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm so blessed. He's a sharp technician.
Yeah, Vision is the closest one for you. The best closest one to you,
right,
is Vision. Yeah. So anyway, I love asking this question. Just conjecture. Where do you think it's going? So, all the cars in California, if you haven't heard, will all be electric by 2030, although there's no infrastructure.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
So
they can dream and wish that they were, but
right, yeah. Kind of like their $30 billion they spent on a
high-speed
train that doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't have any tracks.
No track.
Yeah, right. So, but anyway, so leave California alone. But anyway, where do you think it's going? I mean, I have a lot of people say, well, we think it's going to continue with electric, but the battery technology's got to change because these cars that are on the roads today are ecological disasters. I mean, the amount of resources it takes to create these batteries, and then what are we going to do with all these bazillions of batteries after 10 years when they're dead? There's no way, there's no technology right now to revive those. So there could be, in the future, don't know what the technology is going to be. Hydrogen's always been my dream. If we can figure out how to transport it and store it, in mom's SUV or a minivan without blowing up the kids and her, because it's highly volatile. But all the infrastructure is there for for gas stations. It's just a different kind of gas, and the exhaust is drinkable
Water.
water, drinkable
Yeah.
water. Yes, so I mean,
Yeah.
can't get any more environmentally friendly than that. And we already have internal combustion engines, everywhere. So hybrids, a lot of, they're already here. That, a hybrid to me was like, and you remember this clearly, the gas, and we're going to run out of oil and there's only got so many years left. And somebody invented something called a fuel injector, which tripled the amount of oil reserves immediately. Now they did it again with the hybrid.
Sure.
So where do you think
Yeah.
we're going?
Well, the hydrogen thing is interesting. And what I believe, especially now that AI is on board, I believe that the next great thing will be fusion energy.
Oh,
Clean, plentiful, and it will produce enough power, because the problem with hydrogen is how much energy it takes to split the hydrogen from the oxygen.
oh, is that it?
Um,
Okay,
yeah, it's the amount of energy
takes more
required.
energy to split it than it does to.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just isn't feasible. But once they harness fusion, which has actually happened, they actually got, I think it was last year, had a fusion reaction that produced more energy than it took to create it. That's been the
Oh,
problem. It's always required more
yes,
energy to get the fusion reaction going
correct.
than the fusion itself produces. But they've had a small success. So when that happens, electricity will become more plentiful and cheaper. And so everybody's all gung ho, like you mentioned California about the electric cars, but now you got these data centers, and they're going to be consuming massive amounts of electricity. The infrastructure isn't there for electric cars. I see them being on pause for a while,
Okay.
but they'll have a place, but I don't think it'll grow a lot. Hybrids, yes, because they have the extended range, because you got gasoline and the electric.
Right.
So they don't have the same limitations of an electric vehicle. Our company has an electric vehicle. That's what we use for our customer rides, transportation, and runs. But I don't have one because I don't want to have an electric car to travel. And so when I travel, I want it to be dependable. And I don't want to have to stop for 20, 30 minutes to recharge it, in the hope that when I get there, some knucklehead hasn't stolen the cables for the copper. It's a
Right.
huge problem. And sometimes they just are inoperable. You're well aware of all the issues with that. And I just see that being a problem for a while. Data centers are going to consume the available energy. And I'm not sure, we'll see. These small nuclear plants are going to be a possibility. But I think the available electric supply and the grid will not support a massive amount of electric vehicles. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So, what do you think? How do you think shops should be preparing for the next wave of automotive innovation?
Well, the same way they always have, just training.
Training.
Training,
Right. Yeah.
reading. I mentioned my son. I got two sons. One runs the towing division, and Jeff is just an absolutely brilliant technician. And so he reads all the time, constantly reading. And
Okay.
so staying up on trends. If I want to know something, I ask him. I can still remember many years ago, my dad trying to tell me how to handle an issue with a vehicle. I looked at him, I said, Dad, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way anymore. The industry's passed you by, because he wasn't involved, right?
Right. Right.
Not that it had nothing to do with what his capabilities were. It's
Right.
just that he didn't stay up with the trends. He was off doing, not working in the shop anymore. And same thing has happened to me. It's the industry's passed me by because I didn't stay hands-on and with the training. But fortunately, my son does, and so he reads voraciously. He's always up on the latest trends. He stays involved. And that's what's going to be required. You're going to need an owner or a manager or a lead tech, somebody like that, that's going to stay trained and read and study the new technologies.
Yeah.
So the industry is going to change, but it always has. Look, Points and condenser gave way to terrible electronics, but we figured it out. And then the electronics got better, and then fuel injection came along, and just all the different advances that have come along. We always keep up, and we do that with training and learning.
Yep. Well, you mentioned reading, which seems to be a long lost art today. So I read every morning, I read every night, I read hardcover books only. I will not read a paperback. So I like that in my hand. But and that saying that not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. So your son with the reading, yeah, he'll lead the way with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, he reads the trade magazines, and now, of course, this reading it's all online, but it's still essentially the same thing. It's learning.
Right. What systems or habits do you feel, Russell, have made the biggest impact on your shop's profitability?
Oh, paying attention to the numbers,
Okay. Yeah.
paying attention to profit margins, and
Okay.
the new shop management systems are very good at that.
Hmm.
I mean, the service advisor can see right away what the gross profit is, whether you get in labor or parts. It doesn't really matter. What's the total gross profit? And having the courage to charge what you need to charge to get that profit amount. One of the things that shop owners fail to look at, they'll say, well, yeah, my labor rate's, say, let's just call it $150 an hour. Okay, what's your effective labor rate? And you start doing the math and you find out it's like 115. It's like, you got a problem.
Right.
But many shop owners, they don't understand to look at that. I mean, I didn't, not until, not that many years ago, actually. I didn't know to look at that number.
Hmm.
When I did, I was, fortunately, we didn't have that large of a problem, but I've seen it over and over. I'm part of a large group of shop owners nationwide. There's like 90 shops in this group. And so everybody shares their numbers. And so we look at them in aggregate, and I see it. These poor guys, their $150 labor rate, they're actually pulling in under 120.
Wow.
And the problem is with the service advisors, giving work away, not
Hmm.
they
Right.
being afraid to charge what they need to charge when there's a tough problem. Just, oh, Mrs. Jones, she just can't afford that. Well, how do you know? I mean, the number one thing a service advisor needs to learn: never look in your customer's pocketbook.
Right. Yeah. Mrs. Jones could have 100 grand stuffed under the mattress.
100%. You have no way of knowing.
Right.
You just present what you need to present,
Right.
and the client's going to take it or not.
Yeah.
And so I've had, you might notice I use the word client. I've had arguments in the industry with really good friends over that.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have customers. If you look up the definition of a client is you provide a client professional advice. Customers shop.
Oh,
The customer comes in and selects an item that they want. That's a customer.
that's
You
a
go to the
customer.
grocery store, you're a customer.
You're a customer. Okay.
Right. A well-run shop is going to have clients. You're going to advise them, sometimes against your own best interest. Sometimes you just need to tell somebody this vehicle is not worth fixing unless you want to, but you need to tell them the truth. Sometimes a vehicle has great sentimental value and the cost to keep it on the road is irrelevant to them. Again, you don't look into their pocket, but you do tell them, this repair will exceed the value of the vehicle. Or this vehicle needs so much work that the oil leak you came in for, we can fix that, but we see this, and the other thing. Do you really want to do that, or do you want to think about time to, sell it, trade it in, get something more reliable?
Mm-hmm.
So there are times, so you need to advise people in their best interest. That's your responsibility.
Yep. I really like that. Yeah. Customer shop. You go to Walmart, you're a customer. You go to the grocery store, you're a customer. Client is not normally a term that's used in auto repair, and it's incorrect to use the word customer, a client, because what are we doing? Service advisors. We're giving them advice on their
Right,
right. So
right.
just like an attorney has clients, an auto repair shop has clients, not customers. Great distinction, Russell.
Yeah, I've done that for years when IATN was young and fresh.
Yeah.
I had great fun bantering back and forth with people on that. They thought I was, a knucklehead, but I stuck to it. I firmly believe there's a distinction. We don't have customers, we have clients that are
Yeah.
looking to us for advice.
Yeah. So, last question. I'm going to start a repair shop in Pleasant View, Utah. What's the one piece of advice you'd give me?
See a psychiatrist.
Good
Actually,
advice, Russell. Don't do it.
I'm being facetious. It's
Yeah, I
it's a
know.
it's a good industry, and
It's a great industry. Yeah.
absolutely, we've talked about it before. Learn how to understand your numbers. Understand what you need to get. Just because Bob's shady tree down the road is charging $90 an hour, well, that's not going to be enough for you. Not if you want to have the equipment and the training that you need and the techs that you need.
Hmm.
So understanding what your costs are and what you need to charge to get the effective gross profit that you need to be profitable. How much do you charge for parts? Um, those are really the most important things are the business side of it.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people can fix cars, and that's what happens. That's why there's so many that they own a job, and that's unfortunate.
Right. Yeah.
They can fix cars. They're great at fixing cars. They see the boss, making $120 an hour, and they're getting paid 40, and they're like, well, that's not, I can go get all 120 for myself. That's okay if you're a one-man shop, but that's never going to grow, and you're going to be married to the company. So, learning basically the number one thing to learn is how to work on the business and not in the business. Of course, a great tech starting out, he's going to have to work in the business, but very quickly you want to navigate into getting somebody hired, teaching them the way you want things done, making sure everything's being done ethically, and slowly getting yourself, a lot of the guys will, instead of fixing cars, they go to the front counter. Well, that's okay, but eventually you need to get off the front counter and working on the business instead of in it. That's very difficult for most people who start their own business. It's their baby.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing they can do is learning the business end of it and then working themselves out of being in the company
Right.
instead of working on the company.
Yeah, that's every business person's goal, including mine. I don't want to work in the business. I want to work on it, but it can be very challenging to get to that point. But it has to be a goal, and a lot of shop owners don't have that as the goal. They just come, they get in the habit of opening the door, turning the key every day, and then turning the key at night. It always takes a little bit of foresight and sit down and think about it and goal set. So
Sure.
anyway, I do want to thank you for your very valuable time. You've given some great insight and tips. I'm glad I caught you at this, getting ready to retire phase because this is exactly who I'm looking for. I'm looking for auto repair shop owners who have been in business over 10 years because only 4% of shops make it that far. So your
Wow.
father,
Really?
yeah, only 4% that start from scratch. So
Right.
your father is a 4%er because once he hit that 10th year, most shops, 80% of shops can usually fail within the first five. And of the 20% that make it, another 80% of those failed in the second five. So that's shop started from scratch. If I came in and
Right.
bought your company, I got a really good, I'm going to make it the next 10 years unless I'm an idiot. Or there's something really happens bad to the economy. But starting from scratch, that's it. So and then we've got this in video format. I know podcasts are supposed to be about audio, but I care about the video. But I do want to thank you a lot for taking your time today to be with us on Top Shop Podcast.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for asking, and it was a great conversation.
All right. Thanks, Russell.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.